I, 25 male, have a clash of morals and obligations and would like an outside perspective. When I was 13, my parents died, and my paternal grandparents raised me. It was the easiest choice since they lived in the same area when my parents were alive and visited them frequently. I am my grandparents' only grandchild, as my aunt, 43, is child-free, so they left me their house when they passed on. The current total value of the house is around $500,000, and that's lowballing the estimate, and it's fully paid off, so I have a really good head start in life, although I could never imagine selling it. Recently, I was approached by a man, 38, John, claiming to be my grandfather's son and would like a DNA test to verify it. I was shocked and didn't believe him and told him to go away because that would mean that my grandfather cheated on my grandmother. He also contacted my aunt, and she recognized him as the neighbor's kid who moved away years ago. Apparently, my grandparents were friends with his parents, but then there was a huge fight one day, and the couple moved away. John stated that his mom had an affair with my grandfather, and when the husband found out, he divorced his mom, and they were forced to sell the house. John said that his mom's husband wanted nothing to do with him, since he wasn't sure if he was the father, and abandoned him. Years later, John tracked him down, and after a DNA test was confirmed that he wasn't the father, John's mom confessed that the only other possible candidate was my grandfather. John's mom insisted her ex was the father for years. My aunt lives in another country, so John has been asking me to do a DNA test so that he can finally know for sure who his father is. I was willing to do it until my girlfriend, 26, brought up the issue of ownership of the house. So I did a quick check, and if the DNA test proves that John is indeed my grandfather's son, he might be able to sue for a share of the estate. If it came down to it, I would be forced to sell my home because there's no way I could buy out even 1/3 of the share if John wanted it. I contacted John and said that I would be more than willing to do a DNA test, but only under the condition that he sign away any rights or claims to the house if he's proven to be my grandfather's son, via paperwork that my lawyers will draw up. I didn't hear from John for days, but then got an angry call from a woman claiming to be his wife, who called me greedy and selfish, that I couldn't possibly know that pain of not knowing who my father is, and that my grandfather owes John. I hung up on her and contacted a lawyer. So far, unless John can present enough evidence to create doubt, he doesn't have much of a case, especially since the possible father is already deceased. While I'm content with never giving John what he wants until he waives his right, and my aunt won't either, his wife has begun stalking me on social media and putting me on blast. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The wife and John are going to sue for the estate. The fact that he didn't agree to draw up papers to ensure that didn't happen is suspicious. If he really just wanted to know who his biological father is, he would have agreed. You both would have taken the test, and you guys would get the results, and that would be the end of it. It's suspicious that he didn't opt to do that. You were right in getting that lawyer. OP's girlfriend somewhat saved him by pointing out how they could be challenged. OP, buy her a nice steak dinner. John and his wife must be after the house and estate because he already knows who his father is, your grandfather. So the only reason he needs DNA proof is to try to get a share of his estate. And it would be bad enough if it were only money. But as you said, it's the house you live in, and you should not be forced to sell it. Plus, it was his mother's responsibility to get your grandfather to support him if she wanted him to, not yours. OP, look into getting a restraining order against the wife. She clearly wants to cash out on this. You're best not to be involved with them. If the relationship starts like this, it will only continue going downhill. I think it's not a coincidence that they appeared after your grandfather passed. It sounds like they're trying to run a scam. I'd be a bit surprised if they got a legitimate DNA test. If you decide to do it, you choose the lab without any suggestion from him. I'm sympathetic to you, but I think John is not an idiot for asking. There are many valid reasons for him to want to know that don't have to do with your money. You are not an idiot for trying to protect your assets from a potentially protracted and expensive legal battle over the crappy thing a dead person did almost 40 years ago. Legally, John probably does have a claim, which royally sucks for you. It's not his fault he was abandoned by both his bio father and the man he believed was his father. I'm sorry your family and financial plans have been disrupted this way. Most of the time, I fly my son to his dad, do my own thing while they spend time together, and then fly back home with him. My sister had to go on a 3-week work trip that she couldn't get out of in the summer. She asked me to look after her daughter while away because she had no one else who could. The period overlapped with the time I had to take my son to see his dad, so I ended up taking my niece with me on the trip. The problem is that my son is close to my niece since I watch her often, and he always follows her around whenever they're together. So he wanted to do everything with her and would barely spend time alone with his dad. So my husband, just to clarify that we are married but have been separated for a long time, was blaming me and was telling me I should have told him I needed to babysit. He would have come to collect our son himself, or he would have made different plans instead of having to rearrange everything last minute to fit in my niece. I know he's lying about coming himself because when we were making arrangements for this trip, I suggested he come and get our son so I could go on a girls' trip with my friends originally. He said he had a busy 2 weeks before our son arrived so that he wouldn't have much work to do while our son was with him, so we couldn't find the time to fly here to collect him. He is still telling me I need to make up for the time I ruined in the summer, and I'm starting to feel guilty. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If your husband wants to start dictating the circumstances of his visits with your son, he can begin putting effort into actually facilitating the visits. Yes, it would have been nice for you to have given him a heads up that your niece was coming on the trip, but since it very likely wouldn't have changed anything, like him getting on a plane to pick up your son, the oversight doesn't make you an idiot. Disagree. OP is the idiot in my opinion, simply because OP couldn't even be bothered to tell him what was going on. I don't understand this idea of it would have been nice to give him a heads up, or calling it an oversight. This wasn't some last-minute life or death emergency. When did it suddenly become acceptable to show up to a multiple-week trip with an uninvited guest? Why is the OP being given a pass for not even bothering to tell him? Everyone's the idiot here. So you're doing your sister a favor, and he's ended up having to babysit your niece so he can spend time with his son? It doesn't sound like he knew in advance about this arrangement, and he's not adjusting so that you can have some time by yourself with friends. You two need to communicate and compromise with each other. He's spiteful about you having some free time, and you changed the trip without giving him enough heads up to accommodate. Work together for the sake of your son and give each other a fighting chance. You are co-parenting, and this works best when you see each other as an ally rather than the enemy. He didn't babysit my niece. Usually my ex plans things for him and our son to do, but I rarely spend that time with them. So I typically make separate plans, and I did make separate plans for my niece and me this time, but my son kept wanting my niece to go with them, or he wanted to come with us, so we ended up doing things as a four mostly. You are the idiot. I understand the bind you were in with your niece, so you would have been well within bounds by taking her along on the trip, passing your son to your husband for his visit, and then going off and doing things with your niece. At the end of your son's time with his father, you could have rejoined and gone back together. You are allowed to tell your son no to things. It's a normal and healthy part of being a parent. You chose not to do that. So yeah, you're the idiot in this situation. My 25 female, fiance 27 male, proposed back in August. Not even 2 months later, his younger brother, 22, decided to propose to his girlfriend, 22. My fiance and his brother aren't that close and don't talk, so it wasn't really communicated to each other that they both were planning to propose. We're older than my future brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and I wanted to get a head start in planning. We had assumed that because my future sister-in-law is still in school, and my future brother-in-law had just graduated college and is getting his career started, they would have their wedding later down the road. My fiance and I put our deposit down for our wedding venue. We got a call from his brother the day after we booked our venue. My brother told my fiance that he's planning to book a tropical destination wedding less than 3 months before our wedding date. He didn't put in a deposit or anything, just wanted to let us know what their wedding planning would be like. My fiance kindly told his brother to reconsider because it's not even 3 months before our wedding, and we've already put down the deposit. This is where my future brother-in-law said that they don't want to change their date because they've been dating longer than us. His brother asked if we would move our wedding date for them, and my fiance said no because we had already put down the deposit. Honestly, why would we accommodate them if they weren't going to accommodate us? I gave him an ultimatum and said that if they go through with setting their wedding less than 3 months before ours, I will not be going. My fiance said that it's pretty messed up that I wouldn't go to their wedding, especially since I'm marrying into the family and it would be right before ours. But personally, with planning my own wedding, I feel that I'm not financially stable to go to a destination wedding less than 3 months before my own. What? Why would you and your fiance even think you had a say in someone else's wedding date? And what does it matter if it's less than 3 months before yours? The right answer is, sorry, we can't make it due to finances. That's it. Short and sweet. No demanding a date change. No demanding a location change. You are the idiot for the ultimatum. This is entirely a you problem. You and your fiancé assumed they'd have a long engagement. Neither of you bothered to check with them. Why on earth should they bow to your preferences? Just because you're older? They have been dating longer. They have just as much right to get married. Is this how you want to start off marrying into his family? Ultimatums and baseless entitlement? Ugh, you're such an idiot. Right. 3 weeks I could maybe understand it would perhaps be difficult. 3 months is a long time, and literally no one else is going to care that you're getting married in the same period, except you. My cousin got engaged a month after me, and his wedding coincidentally is 2 months before my own. I truly do not care, and neither will anyone else who attends both. So which one of you is the one with the tropical destination wedding? Everyone seems so caught up in the age and 3 months part and totally disregards the point where OP says she doesn't feel comfortable financially to attend a destination wedding at a time so close to her own wedding. Where would the travel money, flight, hotel, etc. come from to attend the tropical wedding? Her own wedding budget? Honeymoon budget? Day-to-day living cost? And if OP feels she's not in a position where she can afford to attend a destination wedding on top of her own wedding expenses, then that doesn't make her an idiot. It makes her a realist. OP's own fiance thinks she's the idiot for not going, which implies he thinks their finances are in a strong enough place to go to the wedding. This has zero to do with finances and everything to do with OP thinking her shine will dim if she's married after her younger brother and younger brother's fiance. My husband and I have 4 kids, and I'm a television writer/producer. For those who don't know, that means I work long hours. When a show is filming, I work anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day. It's less during writing. My husband is a surgeon, so he also works crazy hours. The key to making it work with such crazy hours and so many kids is planning. For example, I could tell you what we're having for lunch on a specific day in the month. It's the only way to make it work with time and kitchen space constraints. Yesterday, my daughter asked to have 2 of her friends come over. I said sure, and they played all day. My husband got called into the hospital, so it was just the kids and me. Her friends were supposed to be picked up before dinner, but she came and asked me if they could stay for dinner. Since my husband left and we'd have extra, I said we were having shepherd's pie, and if they wanted to stay for that, they'd have to call their parents, but it's okay with me. One of the kids' moms wanted to talk to me. She asked what we were having for dinner. I told her shepherd's pie and a side of cantaloupe. She then told me her family is vegan. I said I understood. We'll be eating at 6 so she can pick them up anytime before then. She then got snippy with me, saying I should make a vegan recipe so I don't exclude a little boy. I told her I have 4 children and I can't cater to her family's needs. We had been planning on this dinner for weeks. Changing would mess up everything we had planned. Plus, I already had thawed the meat and that our family shops by recipe, so I don't have anything laying around I could whip up. She said she was coming to pick her son up right then, and he would never be allowed over again. I feel bad my daughter lost a friend, but I don't think I was in the wrong. What do you guys think? Not the idiot. You told her what you were making for dinner. You gave her a pickup time since he couldn't eat that due to being a vegan. Her flipping out is on her. Her son will realize in time that his mom will be a source of sadness for him. I wonder if he'll stay vegan once he starts making his own decisions. As a vegan of 31 years, you are not the idiot. Expecting a parent watching 6 kids to make a special, additional meal on the spot, especially if you don't have experience making vegan food, is entirely unreasonable. They could have made a meal for the kid and dropped it off instead of being dramatic about it. My son, not vegan, is a very picky eater, so if he has a play date or a sleepover, I don't expect the family hosting to cater to his peculiarities. I always send food with him, either prepared or microwavable. If he wants to eat what they're having, great. If he doesn't, also fine. This mom is the epitome of why vegans get such bad reputations. It should have only been, "Unfortunately, we are vegan, so I'll have to pick him up. Thanks for the invite." But instead, she has to make a big deal about it and try to push her ideas on others. More so, the added difficulty their ideals bring that they are willing to choose to do. Major idiot. I can't wait until her son gets old enough and starts sneaking hot dogs and burgers behind her back.